Commander Lee Minji walked slowly through the metal corridors of the human ship New Seoul. Her boots made soft sounds on the floor as she moved toward the meeting room. Today was important. Very important. The humans were going to meet with aliens called the Kethmar for the first time. Minji stopped at a window and looked outside. In the darkness of space she could see the alien ship getting closer. It was huge, much bigger than her ship. The alien vessel looked like a giant metal beast with sharp edges and bright lights. Weapons covered its surface like teeth in a monster's mouth. "Commander," called Lieutenant Park Do-hyun from behind her. He was young but smart and Minji trusted him. "The aliens want to come on our ship now." Minji nodded and fixed her blue uniform. "Tell them yes. But make sure our security people watch them closely." The meeting was about a star system called Tau Epsilon. Human explorers had found it first and discovered valuable minerals there. But the Kethmar aliens said it belonged to them because their ancestors had maps of that area. Neither side wanted to fight, so they decided to talk instead. The alien delegation entered the ship like they owned it. 3 tall creatures walked in, each one taller than any human. Their skin looked like hard shells and they had 4 arms instead of 2. Scars covered their faces in patterns that probably meant something important in their culture. The leader wore shiny armor and carried ceremonial weapons. "I am War Prime Vexthal," the leader said through a translation device. His voice sounded like clicking and scraping, but the machine made it into words humans could understand. "You will show proper respect to the Kethmar hegemony." Behind him walked 2 younger aliens. One stayed quiet but the other one looked angry. His name was Zarkev, and his eyes never stopped moving like he was looking for a fight. They all sat down in the meeting room. The humans sat on one side of the metal table, and the aliens sat on the other side. Minji had prepared for this meeting for weeks. She knew exactly what to say. "War Prime Vexthal, we welcome you to our ship," Minji said in her calmest voice. "We hope we can solve this problem together so both our people can benefit." Vexthal made a sound like laughing, but it was not friendly. "Your people are new to space travel, human. The Kethmar have ruled this part of the galaxy since before your species learned to make fire. You should remember your place." Minji felt angry inside but she did not show it. Good diplomats never showed anger even when aliens insulted them. "With respect, our surveys show that no Kethmar have lived in the Tau Epsilon system for over 300 years. According to galactic law, the first people to actually use the system get to claim it." The young alien called Zarkev suddenly stood up. His 4 arms moved in angry gestures, and his shell-like skin changed color. "You dare tell us about law? Your kind are nothing but lucky children who found space travel by accident. You probably stole the technology from better species." "Please sit down," Minji said firmly but politely. "We are here to negotiate, not to insult each other." But Zarkev was too angry to listen. "Negotiate? You take what belongs to the hegemony and then talk about negotiation? You occupy our space and speak of fairness?" Vexthal tried to calm his young subordinate, but Zarkev was beyond reason. The young alien had been raised to believe that Kethmar were superior to all other species. The idea that humans might have equal rights made him furious. "Your commander speaks to us like we are equals," Zarkev said, his voice getting louder. "But we are not equals. We are your betters. And inferiors must learn respect." Before anyone could stop him, Zarkev pulled out a small weapon. It looked like a metal stick, but when he pointed it at Minji and pressed a button, it shot out a beam of superheated energy. The plasma beam hit Minji in the chest. The energy burned through her uniform, through her skin, through her ribs and out her back. She fell backward in her chair and hit the floor. Blood spread across the metal beneath her. Lieutenant Kim Sunho, who had been sitting next to his commander, dropped to his knees beside her. But it was too late. Commander Lee Minji was dead. Her eyes stared at the ceiling, seeing nothing. The room became very quiet. The other humans stared in shock. They had come here to talk about mining rights, not to watch their commander die. Kim looked up at the aliens with tears in his eyes but anger in his voice. "War Prime Vexthal, this is murder. Zarkev must be arrested and tried for his crime." Vexthal looked at his claws like nothing important had happened. "Young Zarkev acted hastily, but your commander was disrespectful to the hegemony. Consider this a lesson in proper behavior. We will pay 50,000 galactic credits for your loss." Kim's hands closed into fists. 50,000 credits? For a human life. "It is generous, considering she brought this on herself," Vexthal replied coldly. "Your species will learn to show proper respect to your superiors, or there will be more such lessons." The aliens left the ship within an hour. They took Zarkev with them, protecting him instead of punishing him. The humans were left alone with their dead commander and their grief. As the new soul prepared to return to human space, Lieutenant Kim sent a coded message to a hidden communication device. The message was short but important. The package has been delivered. Condition: terminal. Authorization: Minji 77 Alpha. Execute Protocol Lazarus. The Kethmar thought they had taught humanity a lesson. They believed humans would now be afraid and would stay in their own small part of space. They were very, very wrong. 3 months passed after Commander Lee Minji died. The galaxy seemed quiet and normal again. The Kethmar aliens felt very pleased with themselves. They had not heard anything from the humans since the meeting, and they thought this meant the humans were scared. On the Kethmar home world, Warprime Vexthal sat in his tall crystal tower looking at trade reports. The numbers made him happy. Human traders had stopped coming to Kethmar space. Human ships no longer visited their ports. Human merchants had closed their shops and disappeared. The humans learned their lesson quickly, Vexthal said to his assistant. Maybe they are smarter than I thought. They know when to be afraid. Young Zarkev, the alien who had killed Commander Minji, was now a hero among his people. The Kethmar leaders had promoted him instead of punishing him. They said he had shown proper strength against the humans. At parties, he told stories about how he had put the human female in her place. Each time he told the story, he made himself sound braver and the humans sound weaker. But while the Kethmar celebrated, strange things were happening that they did not notice. Dr. Cho Miho worked quietly in his laboratory on a space station near the Kethmar home world. Everyone thought he was studying tiny life forms for medical research. The Kethmar guards saw him every day, carrying his samples and working at his computer. He seemed harmless. What they did not know was that Dr. Cho was actually studying them. For 2 months he had been learning everything about Kethmar bodies, their cities, their technology, and how their society worked. He sent secret reports to hidden places in space, describing every weakness he found in the Kethmar Empire. On Kethmar trade worlds, human shop owners had indeed disappeared. But they had not run away in fear. Yang Huna had owned an electronics store on Port Kexthera. Before she left, she had installed customer service improvements in her competitors' computer systems. These improvements would let her control those systems from far away. Contractor Bei Jaiwan had finished his last construction job on another Kethmar world. He had built a communications tower that would help the aliens talk to each other across the planet. But he had also built secret pathways into the system that would let humans listen to everything the aliens said. In the empty areas of space far from any world, Captain Song Miran commanded a cargo ship called the Incheon Dawn. Her ship had been avoiding Kethmar space for months. But this was a lie. She had actually been making regular trips to hidden meeting points. Her cargo hold did not carry trade goods anymore. Instead, it carried special equipment and people who slipped onto Kethmar worlds like ghosts in the night. The Kethmar could not see this pattern because they only saw what they expected to see. They expected humans to be afraid, so when humans disappeared they thought it was because of fear. They did not consider that humans might be planning something. Other alien species in the galaxy felt sorry for humanity. The Villani Federation sent messages saying they were sad about what happened to Commander Minji. The Christarch Collective offered to help humans negotiate with the Kethmar in the future. The hive mind of Sirius simply changed their files to say that humans were not dangerous anymore. None of them understood that humanity was not running away. They were getting ready. Deep inside the solar system where Earth was located, Admiral Han Jisoo stood in a secret military base. In front of her was a giant three-dimensional map showing the entire Kethmar Empire. Thousands of red dots marked important buildings, military bases, and command centers throughout Kethmar space. Green dots showed where human agents were now hiding, and blue lines showed communication and supply networks that humans had secretly learned to control. "Give me a report," Admiral Han said to her officers. Colonel Oh Taehyun stepped forward. "All Phase 2 objectives are complete, Admiral. We have people in place at 97% of our target locations. Our undercover agents have successfully gotten jobs in Kethmar military, government, and industry. Our economic warfare systems are loaded and ready. Our communication disruption systems are standing by." Admiral Han nodded. Her face looked like it was carved from stone. "And the main target? We have found Zarkev and we are watching him constantly. We can capture him whenever you give the order." Admiral Han turned to face all the officers in the room. Each one had the same cold determination in their eyes. "Ladies and gentlemen, 3 months ago they murdered Commander Lee Minji and thought that was the end of it. They believed they had taught humanity to know its place. Now it is time to teach them theirs. Begin Phase 3. All across human space, Secret agents who had been waiting patiently for months began to move. People who had been pretending to be traders, scientists, and workers started to prepare for their real missions. On 100 different worlds, humans who the aliens thought had run away in fear were actually in position and ready to act. The silence had been a lie. Humanity had not been hiding. They had been preparing for war. The Kethmar had made a terrible mistake. They thought killing one human would make all humans afraid. Instead, it had made all humans angry. And now they were about to learn what happened when you made humanity angry. The silence was about to end, and when it did, the galaxy would never be the same again. The problems started happening at exactly the same time on 17 different Kethmar worlds. On the factory planet Kethmora, the main power reactor suddenly stopped working. Half the continent went dark. On the trade center Vexshera, the space docks locked shut for no reason. Hundreds of alien ships could not land or leave. Warprime Vexthal got the first reports in his crystal tower. He was annoyed but not worried. "These are just machine problems," he told his workers. "Our equipment is getting old. Send repair teams to fix everything." But the problems got worse. Supply ships that carried food and materials between planets began disappearing. They would send automatic distress signals, then suddenly go silent. The Kethmar military sent investigation ships to find out what happened, but those ships found nothing but empty space. On the 5th day, something happened that made every Kethmar in the Empire stop what they were doing and pay attention. Every screen, computer, and public display throughout Kethmar space turned on at exactly the same moment. The face that appeared was alien to them, a human female with soft features and dark eyes. But her eyes were not soft. They were hard like steel. "I am Commander Lee Minji of the Human Diplomatic Corps," the recording began. The translation device made her words clear in the Kethmar language. "If you are watching this message, then I am already dead, killed by a member of the Kethmar hegemony during what should have been peaceful talks." Warprime Vexthal felt his blood turn cold. This was the human that Zarkev had killed 3 months ago. How was she speaking to them? "I want you to understand something about my people," Minji's image continued. "We are not the weak primitives you think we are. We do not forget our dead. We do not abandon our friends. And we do not forgive those who think kindness means weakness." The screen changed to show security camera footage from that terrible day 3 months ago. Everyone could see Zarkev attack the human commander for no good reason. They could see her die. The footage was clear and showed exactly what had happened. "For 3 months, you have congratulated yourselves on teaching humanity its place," Minji's voice continued while chaos began spreading across Kethmar worlds. "You celebrated because you thought you had made us afraid. You were wrong. We were not hiding in fear. We were getting ready." All around the Kethmar Empire, important systems began failing at the same time. Power plants shut down. Military computers stopped working. Trade systems locked out their users and showed messages written in human language. "Every trader who left your space carried our people with them," Minji explained while the lights went out in cities across 17 worlds. "Every merchant who closed their shop left surprises behind. Every diplomat who seemed to leave in defeat was actually planting the tools of your destruction. You are not seeing system failures. You are seeing justice." In his tower, Vexthal watched his personal communication equipment spark and break. Through his window, he could see his city's lights going out section by section, like someone was turning off switches one by one. "We could have destroyed your worlds from space," Minji said while explosions echoed across multiple Kethmar planets. But these were not the kind of explosions that killed people. They were controlled blasts that destroyed important buildings and equipment that humans had identified and prepared months earlier. "We could have matched your cruelty with our own," the dead commander continued. "But we are not like you. We do not kill innocent people to make points. Instead, we have simply removed your ability to hurt others." The message paused as more controlled explosions destroyed communication towers, power stations, and military bases across the Empire. But hospitals, schools, and homes remained untouched. "To the leaders of the hegemony, give us the one called Zarkev for trial under galactic law. Admit your crimes against humanity. Agree to a peace court, and your people will not suffer for your pride." Minji's face became harder for her final words. "To those who think humans are weak because we prefer peace, understand that our mercy is a choice, not because we cannot be strong. We gave you the chance to do the right thing. You chose violence. Now you face the results. We are humanity. We remember everything. We survive everything. And we are already living among you." The screens went dark across all of Kethmar space. The only sounds left were the noises of failing machines and the growing understanding that the primitive humans had just brought the mighty hegemony to its knees without firing a single shot in battle. Zarkev sat trapped in his luxury apartment. The building's security system had turned against him. The doors would not open. The communication devices kept broadcasting his exact location to anyone who wanted to find him. Even the air conditioning was making his rooms uncomfortably hot and cold. Other alien civilizations throughout the galaxy watched their sensor readings in shock. Their instruments showed the impossible. Humanity had not only defeated the Kethmar hegemony without a real battle, they had shown technological and organizational abilities that were far beyond anything anyone had thought possible. The Villani Federation called an emergency meeting. The Christarch Collective began looking at every human they had ever worked with in a new way. The hive mind of Sirius, for the first time in their long history, felt something like fear. In the sudden darkness of his tower, Warprime Vexthal finally understood what real terror felt like. The humans had been among them all along, watching, learning, preparing. And now the most powerful empire in this part of the galaxy was helpless. The revelation was complete. Humanity was not weak. They had simply been patient. Within hours after Commander Minji's message played across Kethmar space, their entire empire began falling apart from the inside. The collapse was so perfect, so well planned, that it became clear humanity had not just sneaked into their society, they had studied every part of it and knew exactly how to break it. On the Kethmar homeworld, the Money District became a maze of broken computers and frozen bank accounts. Every major bank found their security codes had been cracked and their secret files were now public. The Kethmar discovered that humans had been quietly controlling their markets for months, creating connections that could be cut whenever humans wanted. Young Zarkev, the alien who had killed the human commander, was still trapped in his expensive apartment. The building's security system kept him locked inside. The communication devices kept broadcasting his location to everyone. Even the lights and air conditioning were being controlled by someone else, making his rooms uncomfortably bright and hot, then dark and cold. All across the Kethmar Empire, military bases found themselves completely helpless. Their weapons would not work. Their ships could not fly. Their communication systems only showed messages from humans. Admiral Park Seo-jun appeared on Kethmar command screens from his position on the human warship Soul's Vengeance. Somehow his image was coming through their supposedly unbreakable security systems. Warprime Vexthal, Park's face appeared in the hegemony's main command center. I am Admiral Park Seo-jun of the Human Defense Force. You are wondering how we did this so quickly. Vexthal's forearms shook with rage and fear. This is impossible. Our computer systems cannot be broken. Your systems were built by the Christarch Collective, Park replied calmly. The design team included Dr. Cho Miho, who you knew as a scientist studying tiny life forms. He spent 2 months in your space, but he was not studying microorganisms. He was mapping every wire, every computer program, every weakness in your technology. The truth hit Vexthal like a physical blow. The quiet human scientist had been right under their noses the entire time, learning all their secrets. Every human merchant who traded in your space was a spy, Park continued. Every diplomat who visited your worlds left behind listening devices. Every worker who built things for you installed secret ways for us to control them later. You thought you were dealing with scattered individuals? You were actually facing the entire human intelligence agency. On 17 worlds at the same time, Kethmar military commanders discovered their weapons were turned off, their ships could not leave the ground, and their communication networks were jammed. But the most frightening thing was that their life support systems, their hospitals, their food distribution, everything needed to keep people alive, remained completely untouched. We could have poisoned your water, Admiral Park's voice echoed through empty command centers. We could have released diseases, crashed your space stations, turned your own weapons against your people. We chose not to. This is the difference between humanity and the hegemony. In deep space, human ships that had been missing from Kethmar territory suddenly appeared on sensors throughout the Empire. These were not invasion fleets, but mobile command centers coordinating the complete shutdown of Kethmar power. Captain Song Miran's voice joined the broadcast from her ship in Shandon. Every world you control is now cut off. Your communication networks belong to us. Your military cannot move. Your economy has collapsed. But your people are safe and unharmed. This was never about conquest, this is about justice. Warprime Vexthal found himself surrounded in his own command center as human agents appeared from positions they had held for months. Lieutenant Kim Sunho, who had knelt beside Commander Minji's body months ago, stepped out from behind a support beam where he had been standing in plain sight, disguised as a maintenance worker. "Surprised to see me, War Prime?" Kim asked. "I have been here for 6 weeks, watching, waiting, learning your daily routines, your security codes, your weaknesses." Other alien civilizations throughout the galaxy watched their sensors in complete shock. The readings showed something impossible. Humanity had not only brought down the Kethmar hegemony without a single real battle, they had demonstrated abilities that were far beyond anything any species had ever seen. The Villani Federation's Emergency Council met in panic. The Christarch Collective began reviewing every human they had ever worked with, wondering who else might be a spy. The hive mind of Sirius, for the first time in their history, experienced something close to fear. "How long have the humans been able to do this?" the Villani ambassador asked in terror. The answer came from their own files. Humans had been deliberately showing weaker technology in demonstrations, hiding their real abilities, letting other species think they were not very advanced for decades. Every peaceful talk, every diplomatic compromise, every seemingly weak response to aggression had been a choice, not because they could not be stronger. On the Kethmar homeworld, Admiral Park delivered the final message: "War Prime Vexthal, you have 48 hours to give us Zarkev for trial and admit your crimes. Your empire is already completely at our mercy. The only question left is whether you will choose the path of honor or force us to choose for you." The mighty Kethmar hegemony, which had controlled this part of space for hundreds of years, had been brought to its knees in less than 1 week by a species they had dismissed as primitive children. The galaxy would never make the mistake of underestimating humanity again. The trial of Zarkev happened on a neutral space station called Deep Harbor. Representatives from every major alien civilization in the galaxy came to watch. The young Kethmar alien sat in the defendant's chair looking small and scared. His warrior scars had been removed, and he no longer wore his ceremonial armor. He looked nothing like the proud killer who had murdered Commander Minji. Admiral Han Jisu spoke as the chief prosecutor for humanity. Her voice carried the weight of her entire species' grief and anger. "The defendant is accused of murder, breaking diplomatic protection laws, and crimes against intelligent beings under the Galactic Convention of 2387. Zarkev's defense lawyer was a Christarch legal expert made of living crystal. It tried to argue that cultural differences should excuse the crime, and that Zarkev had diplomatic immunity. But the evidence was too strong: security videos, witness testimony, and clear violation of laws that the Kethmar hegemony had signed themselves. War Prime Vexthal sat in the observer section. His proud bearing was completely broken. The systematic collapse of his empire had taken less than a week once humanity decided to act. His military was grounded, his worlds were under human supervision, and his people now looked at him not with respect but with the knowledge that his arrogance had brought them to ruin. "The court finds the defendant guilty on all charges," announced Judge Chin Yuri, a human judge selected by lottery from the Galactic Justice Council. "The sentence is life in prison, to be served under human custody, with the possibility of release in 25 years if he shows genuine regret and understanding of how serious his actions were." As guards led Zarkev away to prison, Admiral Han addressed all the alien delegates watching. "Let this trial send a message to the galaxy: humanity will not allow the casual murder of our people. We prefer peace, but we are not weak. We seek cooperation, but we are not helpless. We offer friendship, but we do not forget our enemies." The Villani ambassador leaned forward nervously. "Admiral, the speed with which you dismantled the hegemony suggests abilities far beyond what humanity has shown before. How long have you had such capabilities?" Han's smile contained no warmth. "Since before we achieved faster-than-light travel. We have always believed in preparing for the worst while hoping for the best. For 60 years we have built backup plans, established networks, and positioned assets throughout known space. Not for conquest, but for protection." The Christarch representative's crystal body flickered with worry. "You have been watching us. All of us. We have been preparing for the day someone would test our resolve," Han corrected. "Today that day came. Tomorrow we return to diplomacy and trade, hoping it never comes again." 6 months later, all the Kethmar worlds had been completely restored to working condition under a new government led by moderate voices who understood the cost of their predecessors' pride. Human engineers had worked day and night to repair every system they had disabled, to restore every network they had compromised. But they had also left monitoring stations in orbit around every Kethmar world, and similar installations began appearing throughout civilized space. The message was clear: humanity was watching everyone now. War Prime Vexthal, now stripped of his rank and serving as a cultural liaison between the reformed Kethmar government and human administrators, stood on the observation deck of the orbital station above his home world. Below, his people rebuilt their society with hard-learned humility. Lieutenant Kim Sunho, now promoted to commander and serving as humanity's main representative, joined him at the large window. "Do you understand now?" Kim asked quietly. Vexthal's mandibles clicked slowly in the Kethmar equivalent of a sigh. "Your species, you are not what we believed. We are exactly what we have always been," Kim replied. "We simply chose to show you our strength only after you had seen our mercy. Every human who died in first contact incidents over the past century, every insult we endured, every slight we ignored, we remembered them all. But we hoped we would never need to act on those memories." The former war prime studied his reflection in the window. "And now? Now every species in the galaxy knows that humanity keeps its promises. When we offer friendship, we mean it. When we promise protection to our allies, we deliver it. And when we swear justice for our fallen." Kim let the words hang in the air. "We neither forgive nor forget," Vexthal completed the thought, repeating the words that had become humanity's unofficial motto throughout the galaxy. As the two figures stood watching the reconstruction of the Kethmar home world, similar scenes played out across the galaxy. Human ambassadors met with alien leaders who now understood they were dealing not with naive newcomers, but with a species that had been quietly preparing for every possibility while hoping never to use that preparation. The galaxy had learned its lesson about humanity. They were not weak because they preferred peace. They were not helpless because they sought cooperation. They were not naive because they offered friendship first. Humanity was patient. Humanity was prepared. And humanity was always watching. In space stations, alien children learned new lessons about the species called humans. They learned that kindness was not weakness, that mercy was not helplessness, and that the most dangerous enemy was often the one who smiled and offered friendship while secretly preparing for war. The message had been sent and received throughout the galaxy. Treat humanity with respect or face the consequences. The humans had proven they could bring down entire empires without firing a shot. They had shown they could be everywhere at once, watching and waiting. Most importantly, they had demonstrated that some species never forgot their dead, and never forgave those who harmed them. The galaxy would remember this lesson for a very long time.